But today was bad. Light work, people. Light work. It seems we're soft all over the pitch. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are on this beautiful earth of ours. Welcome to another post-match reaction show. Welcome to another win for Liverpool Football Club. Welcome to another chat about the mighty Reds. What a time to be a Liverpool fan. What a time to be a Red. Like, subscribe on your way in. Straight away like. And then when you see the faces, you know, you're going to want to like again. But it's going to be too late because you've already liked it. But yeah, I've got the hostess with the mostest with me today who done a wonderful, amazing job while I was away. I mean, apparently I've been told I've got to fight for my place. Got to fight for my place, yeah. Squad Depth FC showed not only in Liverpool, but it showed on Grizzcon TV. Keith, what's going on, my friend?
Yes. No, thank you very much for everyone that stuck around on Sunday. I know the main man wasn't there, but you guys still stuck with us. And yeah.
It was class, man. It was class. I really enjoyed it. I was jealous because I wanted to talk about Liverpool, but no, it was brilliant. I hope you enjoyed it as well.
I loved it, man. It's good to come off the bench. Felt a bit like Origi, bro. Do you know what I mean? That's last minute. So yeah, no, it's great. And yeah, here we are again, another win. You know, quadruples on, baby.
Oh shit. Okay, I was trying to delay that chat, but you know, you being the top Red that you are, went straight for the kill. But Mick, how you doing, bro? You all right? I said, you know, it's such a lovely time to talk about Reds, and you know, it's one of those times where you try not to get too excited, because I'm much calmer today. You know, it had a kind of relaxed feel to it, didn't it? Today there was not much tension and nerves, was there?
No, I think that's to be expected. I think it was from after coming after Sunday, and obviously the high we were riding. This was always going to be quite a drop in terms of atmosphere and how we felt about it, but 10 changes, which I'm sure we're going to get into, which was obviously going to have an effect, and obviously the crowd obviously as well after Sunday weren't going to be as up for it as they would be for the game, but got the job done. That's all that matters.
Absolutely. Ash, calma. We'll get into it. We need 6 cover. Lost the midfield when the Morton came on. Calm down. We'll get into it. We'll talk about it, Ash. Don't worry. Keith, Mix talks about 10 changes, and it was, I don't know about you, I don't think we had a chat since no, we didn't really chat about the game in the group either. It's always going to be the case, right, where we're going to change it all around now and sort of give as many squad depth players, you know, as the banner says, squad depth LFC and short court final berth. I mean, it was to totally be expected, right? Either sort of players that hadn't played, or some like Jota and Henderson that maybe needed a bit more for rhythm. It was to be expected, total different team, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, if you're on Twitter, it wasn't just the changes on the pitch, but it was the changes off the pitch. I've never seen so many Liverpool tickets available as I saw online. Everyone was looking for swaps and offering four or 5 tickets for the Norwich game. So I think it just had that aura today. It was such a weird day to have an FA Cup match as well, like bang in the middle on a Wednesday. I didn't even know that there were other teams playing and like things were going on. It was an all-round odd day. So I think it was the perfect chance for a couple of the players to kind of prove their worth, if you will. And actually maybe even, you know, for a couple of them, maybe put themselves, you know, in the shop window come the summer, because it was a big talking point, right? That we couldn't really shift players that maybe were no longer first, or maybe even you know, second string, but now they're getting the opportunity to perform. They're still available to play in March, where normally they would have been out of both competitions before the new year. So it's been, you know, overall it's been a great chance for everybody to have their opportunity, whatever their situation may become the summer. So yeah, change is definitely expected, and always nice to watch a game when it's not as intense.
It always is, and especially when you think you're going to have a comfortable evening. You know, Norwich have played I've played well against us a couple of times, but we always end up very comfortable against them. And we'll obviously go into it that it looked at one stage it's going to be a fairly routine, comfortable win again. People are asking, is the Man United league game postponed now? I believe it does get postponed now to a later date. So we'll have to look out for that, because obviously we'll be playing in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup that round. Oh, there you go. Man United Liverpool postponed to April, so we'll have a check up on that. People asking about sort of individual performances. We'll get onto individual performances later, but out of the changes, Mick, so obviously Alisson came back because Klopp alluded to the fact that he didn't think it made sense for the hero of the cup final to sort of go again. Maybe possibly not so much a physical situation there. I think probably mentally exhausted as well, kind of thing. I don't know. What do you think the thinking was behind that?
Yeah, I think it was only Hendo, wasn't that, kept his place? But
Only handle, yeah.
yeah, I mean, wouldn't surprise me if he threw Keller in, but obviously after he's, like I said, we've all ridden that wave from Sunday. Maybe it was a good game to maybe just throw Ali back into, because it was a bit, get his rhythm back. The same with Jota. Jota got what, 40 minutes against Chelsea. So
Yeah,
it's all about rhythm as well, isn't it? Like getting his rhythm back. The players that, like Oxlade-Chamberlain, who need games, and the better when they have games, because they need that type of rhythm player. And probably wasn't his greatest game, but there was a few there where you kind of expect it not to be great, and you don't expect the passing to be quite there, and the chemistry to be quite there. But I mean, and like you said, Norwich did start on the front foot, and the pressing was there up until we got that first goal. And I think they took the foot off the gas a little bit in terms of trying to press us higher. But yeah, I mean, it was like you said, the atmosphere was strange. Watching it, the atmosphere was a bit strange in the ground, because it was kind of like a after Sunday, and obviously the loads of changes. So I think it was just one of those games. We had to win. That was it. It was just one of those games where you go, we just need to win this game and get over the line, give some players some minutes. It was nice to see Tyler Morton come on, and Curtis Jones. Obviously, hopefully he isn't injured. I think it was maybe a precautionary thigh injury which he came off for. But then it was nice to see Harvey Elliott come on as well. So it's just nice to have those options. Like you're trying to predict the starting 11, and you're like, well, you could do this, you could do that, you could do that. You could put Taki there, you could put Ox there. So it's nice to have these options. And yeah, it was just a routine win that we needed to get through.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those, just get through, because we're getting into under Klopp anyway, uncharted territory right here, guys. Mm-hmm. So we've put the League Cup away, quarterfinals in the Champions League beckon. I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but 2-0 up at home to Inter Milan, that should suffice. And this is, as you said, we saw, well, I saw the first half, obviously, before the game started. We saw Chelsea struggle against Luton. So anything can happen in this kind of rounds where you just take your eye off the ball. And Keith, we started off okay. As Mick says, it was going to be sort of, it was not going to be smooth because of the changes, and especially sort of, at the back, completely different back four. How did you think? I just want to go like sort of position, like back four in the midfield and then strikers. So looking at the back four, how did you think they do, especially the two centre-back pairings? Who, Konate is the future. Gomez has come under a bit of scrutiny in the last few weeks because he's not been in the squad. How did you think those two coped, especially in that first half? How did you think they'd done?
I thought they did okay. I actually thought Joe Gomez looked a little bit more comfortable in his own legs, I suppose is the best way to describe it. He looked like he probably wanted to, push himself that extra mile, maybe put in an extra tackle in, started to get his rhythm back with the passing as well. I'm not convinced yet with Konate and Gomez as a two. I feel like either one of them are great for Van Dijk or Matip, if that makes sense, because I think Matip is fantastic ball playing centre back and would partner up with Konate quite well. Gomez and Van Dijk obviously have partnered really, really well. But when it comes to them two, I think it's it's two centre backs trying to do a very similar thing. I think sometimes in terms of they're very aggressive as centre backs. They're very the first point of call, while the other one kind of historically when they play alongside Van Dijk kind of drops in and they get to be the more aggressive. But when they're both looking for that, it can cause holes in our play. So yeah, I thought again with James Milner at right back, it's just I actually thought he put in a pretty decent shift today, but again it's just. You're training to play a certain way with the wing backs that we have, and as Costa Tsimikas, I thought had a really good game. But when you've got that right hand side not quite doing what the wing backs generally do when Trent plays, I still think is one of the biggest holes in our game, because it's not necessarily maybe Conor Bradley is that guy that can take the mantle from Trent, but it's very difficult to almost completely 360 the way you set up defensively once you take somebody else out and put somebody else in who's not even a right back. So I always kind of think to myself that there's some chances to be had with us. And, first 10, 15 minutes, I actually tweeted, I was like, Konate's passing was just a bit wayward, man. He was making Milner do some serious shuttle runs, boy. But
yeah,
so
I saw that.
Milner was about to call it a day in his career there and then because he made him run. So.
He was. And you could see Milner like sort of, because Milner's like probably half the size of him, right, into the height. But Milner wouldn't have held back. Like you could imagine Milner sort of standing up to him saying, "What the fuck are you making me run so much for? Do you know, like, I'm as combined age of you two? Do you know what I mean? You two centre backs, like, stop doing this to me." But I'm with you, and I really enjoyed James Milner's performance, Mick. There's always the question mark, isn't it, when Milner plays? A, why is he playing? B, what position is he going to play? Right. And then if he plays in the back four, oh, fuck's sake, Milner's the right back. But time and time again, I mean, for example, today he was without doubt up against the danger man of Norwich. Because do you remember that Rashika gave us a hard time in the Premier League game as well? Like Trent had his hands full with him in the league game. I thought Milner handled him so good.
Yeah, he did. I think there was a moment like pretty early on where he tries to go past him and Millie just flies in like we know Millie does, just tries to crush him in half. But I do prefer Millie. As a right back rather than a centre midfielder nowadays. Anyway, obviously as he's getting older, I think that position kind of suits him because he's got a little bit more time. We know the engine he's got. No matter his age, he'll keep going for as long as he's playing, and he's got a good cross on him. So he does tick some of the boxes that I think Keith was alluding to there in terms of Trent. But you play anyone in world football, if it's not Trent, you feel it because we rely on Trent so much for those clip passes over the top. And it's whenever Trent picks up the ball, everyone knows, let's get on my bike because Trent's going to find me. And it's that way out ball where we can kind of get out and it just evaporates the press completely. But I think Millie, fair play to him, like 36, he's just a beast, isn't he? Like he just doesn't ever stop. And yeah, he was one of our better players today. You're not going to get anything less than 10 out of 10 from James Milner, and that raises the level of everyone else around him, I think. So it was nice to see him get another run out at right back.
It does, and especially when you talk about sort of what Keith was talking about in terms of Gomez and Konate, neither being very talkative. Then you take out Robbo as well from that back four. Tsimikas does seem the chirpy type. Every time I've been at a game, he doesn't come across as very talkative though. So that would have been a very quiet back three of them, and then Milner would have been the organizer and everything. And you could see that was very much needed because I'm with you, Keith. Physically, and I know Konate and Gomez are very strong, very quick one-on-one, but there's so much more to playing centre-back for Liverpool. And there's so much more cuteness and cleverness needed. Like you need elite football know-how as well. How many times have we said Matip doesn't look the quickest, the strongest, the most powerful, but how many times, working with Virgil, he catches teams so much aside just because of his cuteness and sort of timing of challenges and whatnot. Going forward, are you satisfied, for example, because there's going to be a lot of questions asked about Gomez, isn't it? And there is beginning to become a lot of questions about Gomez and centre backs in the summer. How would you go about approaching this summer with the Gomez scenario? Kanate is going to need time. It's his first season, and we can see him growing. Gomez is coming up to his fourth season, people? Maybe more. He's not going to want to be fourth choice, Keith. But there's absolutely no doubt he's fourth choice now. And performances like this today, I'm going to say it, I don't think they're convincing enough for him to go up that pecking order. Every time he's played, he hasn't convinced me. He hasn't convinced me that Klopp's wrong, if you know what I mean, to make him fourth choice. It's a tricky one because I love him.
Yeah, I don't think he's convinced Klopp, to be honest, at the moment. Now, I just wonder if, I think this season he might get the benefit of the doubt in relation to, from a physical perspective. I think we've alluded to this quite some time that, it's taken him a long time to recover from that injury that he had. My kind of question is going to be, what does Gomez want in terms of the development of his career? Because there's some fantastic opportunities right now for him to be the main man, earn very similar type of wages that he's earning currently, still get paid at the same, and get the opportunity to potentially force his way into the England squad as well. So there is a lot of opportunities for Gomez to, take his career to another level. But what worries me is that Liverpool would try and, do the whole, I'm not going to stand in your way, you can go, blah, 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 blah. And then we get into a situation where we have 3 centre-backs again. And, that always fills me with nerves when we have to rely on 3 instead of 4. So I still think that he can slot in, do a job. I actually think this season he slotted in when needed in cup games. It reminds a bit like Minamino, I suppose. We're getting to a stage now where these guys seem to be really, really useful for us in domestic cups. But in terms of forcing your way into the big leagues, I'm going to reserve judgment for this season. I'm going to let it play out this season. I'm really intrigued to see what type of Joe Gomez comes back in pre-season next season, and what we see next season. I think he can have the benefit of the doubt purely for his injury, but again, in terms of the general play today, I still think there's things that we're not quite seeing in terms of aggression, as much aggressive decision making. Sometimes even passing as well. I think a lot of it is taking a lot of time to get back, and I feel like we're seeing the Joe Gomez that came, who was put into centre back sometimes when Brendan used to play him there, but when he usually played him on the right. I feel like we've gone back to that one, not the imperious one that helped us win the league title. But I'm going to reserve judgment until pre-season next season.
Yeah, look, Kieran says, I don't know what you think of this one, Mick. He says Gomez being judged against Kanate and Matip, but the difference is they are alongside VVD each time. Here's a tricky one. Where do you sit on the Gomez fence, so to speak?
I think there was moments where he was good tonight. I agree with both of you. Like, he's not quite hitting the heights, but I think the heights that he's hit in the past are so high that we kind of expect a higher level for him, because we know how good he is. We know how good he is when he's in top form. So passing, there was a few stray ones. I think there was a moment where he races across the kind of to the right back area and gets us out of trouble a little bit, and that recovery pace is still there. You could see that, it's clear as day. That's still there. It's this. I think he goes into games a bit more nervous. I think, like Keith, like you said earlier, Keith, you said that like he looked a little bit better within himself, and I think that was definitely true today. He looked a little bit more like the Joe Gomez we know, but I still feel like it's small steps for Joe Gomez at the moment. We're seeing little improvements each game, and I think it was his 15th game of the season tonight, so he's not played that much really. So it's hard to judge, because you're seeing him every now and again. You're seeing him at right back where he's not as comfortable, but he does a job, and he can do an okay job. And then you've seen him back in centre half today with, like that comment said before, not alongside Van Dijk. So you're not going to get that imperious nature in terms of him being at his most comfortable, because we know that's when he's most comfortable, when he's next to Van Dijk. He's next to Kanate, and I agree with you guys. Like, they're quite similar in terms of they both want to go and win the ball. They're both quite. They want to press high. They want to bring the ball out from the back. I think only one of them kind of fits with our style. That right hand side of a centre back pairing kind of does the bringing out from the back, whether that be Matip or whoever it's going to be. Van Dijk usually kind of stays where he is. He only ever really moves unless he has to. But I mean, I agree with you guys. It's hard to judge him because he's, like I said, 15th game tonight of the season. Like it's hard to judge. Like pre-season, that's when we get a good picture. Like I think people saying like, is he going to get sold? Like maybe he will, but I don't think Jurgen Klopp's having a conversation with him where he's going, right, we want to get rid of this player because we know how good he is. He's had probably one of the worst injuries you can get, patella injury. So to come back from that and to get to the level that he has so far, we just need to kind of, it's baby steps for Joe Gomez, I think. And there was some promising signs anyway. Definitely better than he has been recently, I think, tonight.
I think I have been unfair asking you these questions, but it's always good to have a discussion. And this is what it's about, having a discussion with fellow Reds, and we come to some sort of logical, rational reasoning. And I think none of your business, my favourite in the chat, one of my favourites, don't get ahead of yourself, none of your business, one of my favourites. He says, do you not think it's unfair as Gomez is not really given games to play next to VVD to see how he does? He struggles as a senior centre-back, in my opinion. And it may have come across that I'm being sort of critical of Joe Gomez. But I think Mick nails it when he says it can be slightly frustrating because we know the levels he reached, and he reached levels of eliteness that we've not seen in many a year. I'd go as far as to say him and Virgil, that partnership was probably the most complete period. You know, when they were together, playing together. And I think I've read statistically, I don't know if the chat knows or you guys know, I think statistically they were the best centre-back pairing for us. Someone correct me if I'm wrong there. And also talking about the leadership, talking about the senior centre-back. Guys, do you remember last season? And even though it was an absolute nightmare, especially in the centre-back area, do you remember when Virgil got injured? The next few games before Gomez got injured himself, I don't know how many games it was, but I remember at the time Gomez upped his level. Do you remember us talking about it? Yeah. He became the leader. He took on the responsibility, the maturity. And it was so good to see him like that, people. And I really thought that, because that's what I was waiting for. And I remember speaking about it on so many shows we done last year in that period. Like, you can see the eye test tells you how he's upped his game and upped his talking and organization. And it's absolutely natural, as Mick says, when you have the kind of injury he's had, to be absolutely not sure of yourself first and foremost, never mind take on the responsibility or the leadership qualities that's needed to play in that Liverpool team. First, you've got to make sure of yourself. And I think, Keith, you mentioned it, didn't you? He looked a bit better about himself. The acceleration was there. That confidence to just really go in hard on some tackles was there. I think that's a good point, isn't it, Keith, that you make?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, it's trusting your own body, especially at this elite level of football. If you don't trust your own body, then it's, your body is your currency at the end of the day, and, from a mental perspective as well. Again, it's not easy, I suppose, sometimes to, okay, I'm going to have to go prove myself on a Wednesday night against Norwich. Do you know what I mean? When, I'd rather be playing the big match, which is the game against West Ham this weekend. So, there's also that element of at what point do you need to prove yourself all the time on the training pitch to get that extra level. And, again, Jurgen could either be protecting him or Grizz, Jurgen might be of a similar ilk and actually think, you know what, maybe he has lost a step or two, and he's not quite showing it just yet. But the most important thing at the moment is that he wins games like this, because if he wins games like this, he's going to get more opportunities, because I still don't believe that Klopp is going to be fielding Virgil, Matip anytime soon in the FA Cup.
Yeah, no, I think, I don't know. It depends. I think it depends who we get. I think we're at that stage now, Keith. I don't know. Who calls it? Is it you? You call it rich man problems.
Yeah, rich man problems.
These are rich man problems. Like, do I bring out the Ferrari at the garage today, or should I just stick with the Lambo? Shall I just leave them both, you know, in the garage and take out the, you know, the Merc? You know, it's one of those. It's a good place to be, and it's a good place to be in. And Mick, moving up into the midfield, Henderson, Ox, and Jones. Henderson gets, I thought it was slightly surprising, but then we remember that he got taken off in the 70th minute or something, didn't he, in the cup final? And I think the two nailed on starters were Ox and Jones. Everyone knew that Ox and Jones are going to get a run out. Just give me an overview on the three of them as a collective, and then maybe as a couple of individuals, if you want to mention them as an individual.
Yeah, I think Hendo, yeah, I suppose that was a good inclusion because we needed at least some. Obviously, we have Milner in there, but seniority in the midfield helps in terms of leadership because obviously I think we know Ox has been around the block and whatever, but he's not probably not the most vocal type but to get Millie and Hendo on the same field helps in terms of having quite a much changed lineup. So yeah, I thought Curtis Jones first half was good, like getting on the ball, picking up nice little positions, doing little 1-2s with Hendo, picks up those nice little pockets. I think he grazes the bar with an absolute rocket. That must have been like 10 minutes in. So if that goes in, we're going, what a then he goes off half time. We're going, what a performance by Jones. But I mean, Lee Dixon on commentary was just kept mentioning Curtis Jones, and he said he must have passed the ball like 300 times, which was probably a bit of an overstatement. Like, but he was like, I mean, I thought Curtis Jones done well. Like, I think he came off at half time, didn't he? But yeah, as a whole, it was okay. I suppose like Hendo's just. I think you mentioned Tsimikas before. I think he gave Tsimikas a few bollockings that first half. I think there's a few moments where I mean it wasn't great, I suppose, in that first half as well. But like I said before, it's to be expected with that many changes. And I think our midfield is quite a big role to play. If you've got to be ready to put in a shift if you want to play in that midfield. So I suppose it did the job that first half, and then obviously like I said, Harvey Elliott coming on for Curtis Jones, and I thought Elliott did well as well. To be fair, so yeah, it was good all round. To be fair,
I thought Curtis Jones. I thought he used class. He absolutely used class in that first 45 minutes. Massive shame that he came off, and we'll discuss that. And let us know, people, because obviously we've jumped live on stream straight away. So if Klopp gets asked or if we get any information, please put it in the chat and let us know if anything was spoken about Curtis Jones's injury or why he was taken off. Hopefully it's just a precaution. But Keith, that performance from Curtis Jones is what I've been waiting for, what I wanted to see, what I wanted to know. I want to see his attitude. Because when you're at that age, you want to see the attitude and the mentality of a young player who's been left out of squads, left out of the cup final squad. What's he going to do? Is he going to sulk around the pitch, or is he going to strut around the pitch, or is he going to work and he's going to show sides to him that we haven't seen? And I mean, in terms of not only his touch and control, we know about his touch and control, but in terms of his decision making, when to pass it, when to lay it off, when to play it forward, when to hold that position if Tsimikas is going on. Me personally, I thought that was his best performance of the season so far, and it would have been absolutely brilliantly topped off with that goal, because that was the Everton goal, right? That was the goal he scored in the FA Cup, I think it was, when we had a scratch squad, and he put it in the top corner. I thought he used class myself.
I mean, he played like a man possessed. You know, he really, a lot of the times, again, there's a lot of cliches that go into domestic cup games by Liverpool fans, kind of like, well, you know, when you get your opportunity, you need to take it with both hands, because we usually put out the second string squad. And I think like he literally embodied that theory, right? He was like, right, I'm going to show that I'm going to dictate the game. And that's what I felt he did was so well. He wanted that ball any chance that he could get. And you know what? I think Lee Dixon, I thought he was probably just amazed. Probably Lee Dixon probably never seen Curtis Jones before.
Absolutely. It shows you, because we've talked about it before, haven't we? Like, when you see someone having so many touches of the ball all around the pitch, it's a testimony to their football intellect. Like, possibly, actually, if you think about it, it was probably the most technically gifted player on that pitch.
Oh, by miles, yeah. He was the only player I thought on that pitch that was comfortable receiving the ball in such tight spaces and being able to shift his body weight to the left and to the right to protect the ball and then keep it moving. And then, you know, Jones has had that. He'll come into certain games and kind of withdraw with himself, which is really strange because he's a really weird player because he's got so much quality, and sometimes I feel like he almost self-sabotages himself by kind of not listening to Curtis Jones. It's like Curtis Jones is telling him, hey mate, you should play this pass, but then he stops Curtis Jones from playing that forward pass. Or, you know, Curtis Jones is telling him, hey mate,
is that because he's been moved around position wise and it's a total different way of playing in certain positions, maybe? Like, yeah, I don't know, maybe something to do with that.
Maybe sometimes, or the way in which, because Mick makes a great point in terms of that midfield, right? It's there's so much going on there that maybe sometimes when he's given instructions to do something, maybe it takes away. So maybe, you know, Pep Lijnders might tell him, hey, listen, just keep it a little bit more simple. And then he's kind of thinking, oh shit, now I've got to keep it more simple. But then you see, like, well, I know Curtis Jones could probably dribble past these two men and play that pass, but he doesn't. And then he'll get almost into himself where it's kind of like, shit, all right, now I can't do what Curtis Jones wants to do. Now I've got to do what Pep maybe told me to do. I've got to play that extra pass. And all of a sudden, he kind of loses the ball. So that was so nice. He played without, he knew that. I think he knew what everybody was saying, right? It was one of those games where it was just, we win. And he's kind of thought, well, if it's one of those games, I don't have that pressure. Such a shame to see him go, a bit odd with the thigh injury. I wonder if this is a niggle that's been hampering him a little bit because he's been in, he's been out, nothing's really been said. So clearly this is not a new problem because they were quick to take him off the minute it came up. So I wonder if this is why he's been away and in and out so much. I don't know, but I thought, talking about midfielders, I thought Oxlade-Chamberlain, I thought he did the opposite a little bit today. I thought he kind of kept himself. I don't know. He took a couple pot shots from range and did stuff from time to time. But I kind of felt like he was more happy to kind of not be in as much and kind of I'm gonna keep my position here in the forwards of almost the 8 and you know, I don't know. I just think that Ox. We talk about it all the time, right? Who's going next? Who's this? Who's that? The other. Ox is one that I don't know. Lately, his demeanor and something about it seems to suggest that I just don't think he's happy with his current position in the squad at all. And I thought today, the game, it showed a little bit. Even the celebrations for the cup itself, it showed.
I want to stick on that point and get Mick's opinion on that because loads of people have been want to speak about that as well. I think Selections probably joined us late. We spoke about him. I agree. He's probably catching up with that part of it. Selection, appreciate the super chat, my friend. He says Gomez needs rhythm. I think his confidence takes a hit knowing he isn't going to play with the first team. I'm starting to see an issue with Mane when he is benched. Well, if the issue is him getting angry, and then there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But elaborate. But we agree. We agree with the first part of your super chat. You know, but I think we got to give him until pre-season and then see what he wants. I think Keith's spot on. It's going to be about what Gomez decides, I think, as opposed to we haven't got an intention of selling him. But if Gomez insists, then we're going to obviously look to get the best deal as much as we can. Big K is a top red, Mick. And so he held back on the Ox analysis. But that, in effect, when Big K talks about a player like that in effect is a red card for the player in terms of, I think we've come to a point with Oxlade, like we came with Lallana, like we came with Lovren, like we came with Sturridge. I think we're past his level now. I don't think Oxlade-Chamberlain offers anything that the other midfielders don't. I think Elliott has overtaken him. I think Naby Keita has overtaken him. Henderson, Fabinho, Thiago obviously are. I think Curtis Jones has overtaken him. I think Oxlade-Chamberlain, Mick, is the odd one out, and it's unfortunately showing in pretty much a lot of the games where he gets given a chance to. And it's funny because he ends up playing against Norwich nearly every game. He played in the first game against Norwich, and he played in the League Cup game against Norwich. That's just my opinion. Keith's given his opinion. We want Mick Moran's opinion.
Yeah, I think I do. I agree with Keith, to be honest. Like, I think he tried to stay out of it a little bit. I think that his hand was forced a little bit in regards to the change, because obviously Curtis Jones comes off. He had a great time on that left hand side. Harvey Elliott comes on, plays on the right. I think that left hand side of a three is involved in a bit more of the intricate play with the back four. I think so. Then you've got to be involved a little bit more, I think. So I suppose the second half, now that I think about it, there was a few times where he does burst through, and he's got that burst of pace where he can burst past two and play a pass. But I think was he 29 this year? I think maybe we keep saying it, like he's a confidence player. He's a player that needs rhythm, and he is, because we've seen that earlier in the season when he was getting like 3, 4, 5 games in a row. We'd be like, this is the Ox we know. This is what he can do when he's given a chance and given a bit of rhythm. But with the team and the squad we've got, we can't give him that. That's the thing, because I think we've got players who are, if we come up against an opposition, we can go, well, we need Harvey Elliott in this game, we need Henderson in this game, we need Thiago more often than not in this game. So it's like, well, you're not going to play just because we've got so much quality, and I think that kind of hinders him, because but then the thing is, if we had less quality and he played, he'd be better, but we might be worse, if you see what I mean. So it's trying to strike that fine balance where I think there's a lot of players in a similar position. I think, like you said, because Joe Gomez is probably in a similar position where the summer comes, what does he do? I think obviously Keller has a great Carabao Cup final. He's 23, is he 24 this year? It might come in position, hopefully not this year or a couple of years' time, but he's going to make a similar decision. So yeah, it's a difficult one, because we know how good Ox is. I think it's similar to Gomez as well, because we know that how good he is when he's on top form, and we know what strength he brings. But there's times where we just need something different, and that affects him a little bit as well, because I think, like, celebrations, the Carabao Cup, I don't think he was quite there. And I think he needs the confidence. And I think if he doesn't play, it affects him a little bit more than it does other players. I think where, like you said, Curtis Jones comes in tonight, not been loads of squads. He comes in, he played against Leeds, done well, and he played tonight and done well.
The contrast.
It's how you react. You've got to react well. And if you don't react well, you're not going to get picked more often. And then therein relies is another problem, because if you don't come in and do well, you're not going to get picked the next game, and that affects Ox again because he's not getting picked again. So it's becoming a bit of a vicious cycle at the moment, which isn't great for anyone. But I mean, I thought he'd done okay. It wasn't, but we keep saying that about Ox. That's the thing.
That's exactly the thing. And you spoke about, or we spoke about the difference between Curtis Jones, or what we were expecting from Curtis Jones. And then I was expecting it from Ox, but I haven't seen it. I haven't seen him take a game like he did against Man City. Do you remember all those years ago, whatever? He's had glimpses, like Mick, you allude to, where he has like a 10, 15 second move where he bursts past defenders and he'll crack a shot. But his shoulders are not, his chest is not puffed out. It's not the Oxlade-Chamberlain, the bubbly Oxlade-Chamberlain buzzing around the team and the pitch. I don't know. I mean, look, we've got a couple of super chats that's related. He says, look, Nicholas, appreciate the super chat. He says, now with Liverpool having the depth on the bench to compete in all the comps, what players are you looking to move on, if any? Love the channel. Cheers. Cheers for the super chat. We appreciate your support. The standout for me would be Ox. I don't know if the guys have got someone else. I think Ox would be the number one. If we are looking to sort of raise funds and buy and sell, and I don't mean buy to sell, I mean buy and sell before people start jumping up and down wherever they are. But obviously, as any business does, you look to buy and you look to sell and you look to refresh the squad. I think two players that I personally would do out of the squad today would be Ox and Divock. I don't know if Keith wants to add anything or subtract anything from that.
Yeah, it would be interesting. See, is Ox and Divock, I think, are the two natural ones. As I said, the contrast in celebrations with Ox spoke volumes. We saw how he reacted when we won the Premier League, we won the Champions League. He was effectively a part of that League Cup team that won the League Cup, and it was muted. So I think he's got one foot out the door. Again, it's question marks around kind of you looking at Joe Gomez. If the club want to cash in because they feel that there might be a better option available, who's maybe younger, less injury prone, then I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. But yeah, no, apart from that, I think it would probably be those two, which again would be a shame. But I think, the evolution of this team is such that I think, time has come. Time is called time. And actually, I'll give a shout out to a few who probably I would have thought may have been that far, but hasn't. And there's one man is Naby Keita. I thought Naby Keita, what he's done lately, I know it's so random, but because I would have called and I would have said, he probably would have been the one in line that we probably would have tried to raise funds for. But after that League Cup performance and how Klopp seemingly trusts him in Premier League games, big Premier League games where we need points, that's the kind of player who's just turned his whole fortunes around. So, there's definitely players to praise on that side as well who have actually probably had one foot out the door and turned it around. But yeah, I think Ox and I think Origi, and if the club sees potential to bring in a new English centre back, because I think there will be English signings coming in, especially if Milner's leaving. If they don't renew Milner's contract, they're going to have to sort out the quota for the English players. I think that could be an option.
Yeah. Selection comes in with another super chat and he says, you guys might not agree. I feel Klopp needs to give Jones some freedom to express himself. Klopp is too rigid at times with his creative players. Selection, I'm going to take this one. And I think the other lads will agree with me from what I know of them and their opinions. I totally disagree, bro. I totally disagree. I think the fact that we score literally sometimes hundreds of goals a season tells you that whatever Klopp is doing with his forward and creative players is fucking working, bro. It's fucking working. There may be times where you might not like a certain individual in the formation and the way he's playing, but I can't see us labeling that a criticism of Klopp. With regards to the Curtis Jones issue, I hear you. But we've spoken about it before on this show and on this channel that we see Jurgen Klopp. I think Jurgen Klopp sees Curtis Jones evolving into a multifunctional central midfielder as opposed to just a creative number 10, because we know we haven't really got a place for a creative 10 in his formation, and so therefore he still rates Curtis Jones, but he wants him to play like a Naby Keita, like a Thiago, like whoever else, Henderson or whatever. And he absolutely believes in his talent. So I think it's a patient game with Curtis Jones. I think we need to see him evolve into this new role, into this new position. And I think we'll see the best of him. And, we've said before, if we don't, we'll absolutely kill it in the transfer market with him, if you know what I mean. Like, we have to be real. Like, if we don't see him as a first teamer, we'll see 50, 60 million for him. I'm telling you now, clubs will be ready to pay 40, 50 million for him. So it's a win-win situation, in my opinion. I appreciate your opinion and your super chat. Henderson was okay. Front three. Who wants to take the front three? So the front three was Jota, who gets a game because of rhythm. Taki and Divock. I'll start off with Taki. I thought he's a man possessed. You talk about Curtis Jones. For me, take away the 2 goals if you can. And I know that's a simplistic way of looking at it. Like, take away his goals. What are you talking about? I thought Taki's touches, his play, his hold-up play, his link-up play. Keith, that was the best I've seen of Taki. Buzzing, energy, strength. I love that performance from Taki Minamino.
Yeah, I mean, he's the domestic. He's fast becoming the domestic cup guy, isn't he? Really, I mean,
we've always had that in the past as well. We've always had a domestic hero, always that comes in, and he looks to be the.
Well, he is.
Dare I say it, the new Divock?
Well, I mean, he is he finished as Liverpool's top goal scorer in the League Cup. He is now Liverpool's top goal scorer in the FA Cup, I do believe. And it's just. again, he's starting to play like a player. Like he now knows his role in the team. If that makes sense, I feel like he's much more embedded. I still don't think Jurgen Klopp trusts him enough personally, but where he does trust him and gives him an opportunity, he takes that with both hands. And I actually think that Minamino could very well be playing himself into a long-term squad option at this football club. And you know what? As Jurgen Klopp always says, that's not a bad place to be, you know, in this team. I thought
it is. People forget that, Keith. You're so spot on. You're playing at undoubtedly one of, if not the best team in Europe. You literally are playing against for the best team in Europe, in the best league, under the best coach. And I don't even know. Mick mentioned Joe Gomez's 15th appearance. I don't even know it's been that many, Mick. I genuinely didn't know that. And that's a decent amount to play. You're like, you know, if you're a fourth centre back, when you know you've got the likes of Virgil and Matip ahead of you, and same with Minamino, he's got the best 3 or 4 in fucking world football. And you've mentioned how many goals. People tell us in the chat how many goals he's got now, or how many and how many appearances. I think he's showing his worth. I agree with you, Keith. Absolutely, yeah.
Oh yeah. No, sorry, I was going to make if you want to have your turn.
No, I was going to say it's his 9th goal in 22. So he's like, it's getting towards like 1 and 2 for a player who's like on the periphery and comes in now and again. And it was obviously the Carabao Cup, like King just scoring. I think he scored like 5 goals or 4 goals, which got us to the final. So yeah, and I agree with you, Grizz. Like that's kind of what you said was literally what I was thinking perfectly as the game was unfolding. Like take away the goals, it was the strength, it was holding off people, which is something we haven't really seen as much with Taki. He kind of, most comments you get from Taki from when you watch a game is always push off the ball too easy. He doesn't link up play that as well as he should. He should if he wants to play the Bobby role, and it was stuff like that where he was on the right, and I thought he'd done so well in terms of picking up. I think it was like you said with Ox before, like his shoulders back. He had that confidence. He had the confidence to pick.
I like that.
Picked up the ball. There was times where it was played in, and he can't. I think there was a moment where it was going to Hendo, and he can't. And Taki kind of took it off him, and he ran right across the field and played it into Simicas, I think it was, and it was stuff like that. Where it's like that grows as you play more games and as you get used to the system. And I think his contract ends in 2 years, so he's. I don't think he's going to go anywhere. I mean, if he does, then fair play. But he could be our new Origi, and I think that's something that you can't underplay too much, because we know how good Divock Origi's done, like being that guy from the bench. And we saw from the 2 goals, like that second goal especially, like it's such a great technique to smash it like that and the way it went in. And yeah, like I said, like take away the goals, like he was, even if he didn't score tonight, I would have said that was the Taki that we bought. That was the Taki that we took. I mean, it was a very amenable gamble, like 7 million was a gamble worth taking, wasn't it, to be fair? And he's had a shitload of critics, like he has. Like when he's come in, he's not looked great, and he's looked lightweight, and he's not linking up play, like I said, and not scoring goals, and not doing everything that a member of our front 3 should do. But tonight, that was what we want to see more of, definitely going forward.
Pixelated Pigeon.
What a name.
Always makes me smile when I read that. Yeah. Grizz, you've said there's another Divock moment to come in this title race. I honestly do. I honestly do believe that. Do you guys, there will be a Taki moment in the Premier League running? I don't care who it comes from. If Taki goes on to have the amount of legendary, iconic moments Divock's had, we'll be absolutely fine. Pixelated Pigeon, appreciate the super chat. We don't even need to talk about the Premier League for now, because we needed a goal, Keith, and it was a nice, I called it a crisp move. It was a nice crisp move where it was clean passes into the feet of around the box. I think it's Simicas plays it into Origi, who, you know, holds it up, because when Origi wants to hold it up, it's very difficult to see around him, right? Yeah. Lays it into, and I liked it. It was just crisp. You know, again, like Mick says, that was a confident man who knew his game, he knew his mission, he knew his task, and he put it away so crisply, didn't he?
Do you know what? Like, if you were to have, if you would wanted to see an example of our domestic cup players in action, that move summed it all up. Because Shimikas, Origi, and Minamino,
I think Curtis may have had an influence in the start of the move as well. Exactly.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, and Curtis being involved as well. It just has flashbacks to like the League Cup run, for example. Like them three, them four were like always involved in and around the goals as we were progressing on. And even in the FA Cup, again, this Origi and Minamino partnership was involved in the previous round against Cardiff, right? So, and Shimikas again being involved as well, because I think he put one of the balls in for the game against Cardiff. So it was quite poetic that those three should be involved in this move, and it's quite intriguing to see how this develops. I thought it was a brilliant ball by Shimikas. Really has that in his locker, playing these kind of like these flat low balls. I think it's really good. Really good pass of the ball, actually. A bit of a nutcase in terms of like his left back. He reminds me of kind of like he's got the Moreno about him, isn't it? Like
someone mentioned in the chat earlier that you could tell that performance was the aftermath of the League Cup celebration.
Yeah.
He started off brilliantly, but you could tell like there was a couple of moments where you're right, a few mad things he'd done, and he was easily the standout celebrator.
Oh yeah,
he was fantastic, man. Yeah, you're right.
He was loving it. He was loving it. I think one of his first big trophies to win as well. So I'm not surprised if again, sometimes you don't even need the alcohol, man. Sometimes it's just like the moment itself can send you home exhausted for a few days. I'm sure, Grizz, as a man, you don't drink, right? I'm sure you were pretty exhausted.
I was so high and elevated without drink or drugs. I'm the living proof that you don't need to be drunk or high to have an amazing time, because it was without doubt one of the best days as a Liverpool fan, especially in recent times because of this COVID and not being able to get together and see fellow Reds. Everywhere we went, it was magnificent. But yeah, Tsimikas has got that element of being a natter. But every squad needs that. Do you know what I mean? You have to have different personalities, different characters. And then you can have your sort of, James Milners, the ultimate fucking professionals, right? Brilliant, right? Yeah. And Henderson's. And then you've got to have your Tsimikas who are just totally wild.
Yeah, no doubt. And Origi is an interesting one, because you mentioned about how, like, sometimes when Origi gets that touch right and that layoff right, you don't get the ball off him. Yeah. And it's both one of his greatest strengths, but also one of the most maddening facts about the man, that he just doesn't do it enough. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's sometimes you watch him and you feel like, how did you get moved off the ball so easily? Do you know what I mean? And not put yourself out there harder, or knock the guy off there, You train with Lukaku, your boy in Belgium, man. Surely you're taking some notes, to see how you can put your whole body in front of the ball sometimes and not half of it. So it was nice to see that he put his whole body in front of it. Great finish by the Fox in the box, man. The guy loves scoring goals inside that box, doesn't he, Taki? He really does. He really does love it. Love getting them goals in the box. And, that's why maybe when someone wrote about, could he have his moment? If he was going to have his moment, it's going to be from a corner or something that's going on in the box, and he's getting that last, because he's a great striker of the ball. And it was a great goal, and a goal we needed as well, because it was a bit, as I said, odd game. Norwich had a few half chances here and there, so I think it was a nice goal to kind of just calm us all down.
Yeah, Selection says, I agree, we need another British signing, cough, cough, Bellingham. Taki, more goals than Grealish. Fucking hell. Think about that. And one away from Lukaku. And, as Mick says, 7 million we paid for him. I mean, again, it's testimony. People, it's testimony to our recruitment team. We know what we're doing. We may not always see the fruits of it, early and straight away, but eventually we always do. And yeah, I've been one of maybe the harsh ones on Taki in the past. But again, if he can be that 5th, 6th stroke, forward, and the Origi replacement, as it seemingly looks like, and he's got the attitude of a champion. He's got the best attitude you can find in a sportsman playing at the highest level, and the general demeanor of him. He steps in and he's one of those guys, and it's a cliche, and you couldn't wish it on a better better human being could you? Like, you can tell the way they've celebrated with him, made him feel part of it. It's all part and parcel of this camaraderie and spirit, isn't it, Mick? It's an underrated sort of talent to have amongst the squad, where everyone respects everyone like that, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you can see, like, he's not the type of guy to seek the limelight, but like the way he scored those goals to get us to the Carabao Cup and then not play and still get involved in the celebration in the way that he did, just says what type of man that he is. And yeah, it's nice to see him do well. And I think he's got a goal or assist every 84 minutes apparently, which is it's fucking good, that, isn't it? Let's be honest. For a player who doesn't play that often, he's getting a goal or assist at least per game, which is like, you've got to respect that. And I think I was like you, Grizz, like, to be honest, like you immediately jump on him. You're like, well, why have we paid 7 million? You're like, well, we've paid 7 million. It's a risk, whatever. Let's see how he does. And if it's not like an instant impact, or he's not like an instant hit, you go, well, fuck it, let's get rid of him. Like, he's not serving a purpose. Like I said earlier, he's not doing the things the front three do. You play him in midfield, he's not quite linking up the same way that everyone else does. He's not a good fit. Let's get rid of him. But you need to just persevere, and you need some players just need longer. Like, not every player is a Luis Diaz. Like, you just need to give some players a little bit of time to adapt. Get used to everything, get used to the new system, a new country, and whatever else. And some players just take a little bit more time to adapt to the Premier League, to be honest, because it's a whole different beast, isn't it? So yeah, I mean, he's, like you said, he's one of those players you want it to go well for him, and the fact that tonight he stepped up and playing on the right of a three, and I mean, I'd be interested to see what position he is going forward, because I thought he was really good in there. Like, he was always shown for the ball on that right hand side. He'd always cut in. He'd run into space. So he's not limited to that right hand side. He can go where he chooses, as long as he keeps hold of the ball and keeps passing to a red shirt. So, and to get 2 goals and to do so well, yeah, it was made up for him tonight.
Yes, as Sonny Kang says, way too many of our fans were quick to judge him. He arrived during lockdown and from another league country and into a completely different culture, into a very settled and established squad. And when you're a bit of an introvert as well, on top of that, you have to take all that into consideration. And look, you know, as I said, if he's going to be our new Origi, wow, we're onto something, you know. And I think he has. I think, just like Keith mentioned, Naby, I think Naby's performances, every time he has been available and played, I think have won a lot of the fan base that had slight doubts about him. And for sure, I think the coaches and the people that are in charge, which are Klopp and Co. Look, there's over 235 of you in here. Make sure you've smashed that like button for us. That's all we ask for. We're having a lovely chat about the mighty Reds, the amazing Reds. The second goal, Keith, I don't know if you want to touch upon it on Mick, because the second goal, guys, I didn't know what had happened. Like, the ball came out of the I don't know, did it hit both posts or something? Like, what happened, Keith?
It kind of, what do you think, Mick? I feel like it hit the top right-hand corner of the inside of the post. So it's one of those ones where 9 times out of 10, you'll see a chance like that and it will hit the bar and it will be like, bing! Oh, and it will kind of, but it won't go in. But he hit the right side of the bar, and it just kind of because a lot of times you see that and you think it hits the side netting. So I kind of feel like,
tell you, I've just worked out what it reminds me of, but work with me maybe here. Do you remember the Mo Salah goal against? Oh shit! Was it Crystal Palace in lockdown?
Oh yes.
Falls at his feet and he smashes it on the half volley. Obviously, right-footed and a different type of finish, but sort of it was kind of like instinctively, brilliantly hit. And he didn't celebrate wildly. And I thought, what's going on? Like, has it gone round the back? You know, sometimes it plays games with you, the vision, and you think to yourself, it's gone behind the goal when the crowd didn't really go. I don't know, but it was a brilliant goal and brilliant finish, mate.
Yeah, I was the same. It took me like probably 3 or 4 seconds to go, well, is that in, or is it
4-3? That's it. That's the one. Do you remember?
Yeah. And it was like, is it all right? Is it a goal kick? Is it what's going on? Is it a goal? And I was like, oh, it's a goal. And you're like, fucking hell, like, he's running away celebrating. You're like, it's a hell of a strike the way he's cut across the ball, and yeah, that killer instinct in the box, like long may it continue, because we we know he's got a good strike on him. That's playing for everyone to see, but we just, like you said, we need to see that confidence matched with that, because once he gets a bit more confidence, he's more likely to take shots like that in the box, and we're more likely to see more goals, which is what we want to see. I think he's now our 4th top goal scorer in all competitions this year, which is mad. Like, I know Firmino's been injured, but I think he's now on 9. Bobby's on 8. So it's the more you say about it, the more you go, well, actually, he's having a fucking good season, to be honest. So long may it continue.
It was a confident strike, by the way. I agree with you. It was a confident strike, because maybe the Minamino of a few months ago probably would have taken it extra,
stuffed it,
or tried to find a pass to kind of, but he kind of just believed in himself in that. So yeah, definitely a confident strike.
100%. Brilliant. Hopefully good news. El Drago says Klopp on Curtis Jones. We took Curtis off because he felt the thigh slightly. It's not serious. We didn't need to take a risk, so that's why we brought on Harvey. And that's where we're at. I mean, Jota. There's not too much to speak on Jota. He just needs a bit of rhythm. I thought he wasn't brilliant, but he needed to sort of. I thought he stayed on a bit too long for my liking. I thought he might get 60 minutes or something, but he ended up sort of getting bloody hell, near enough 90 minutes, 85 minutes, 84 minutes. Yeah. So, but we'll get into that very quickly. 2-0 at halftime. Origi, do you want to speak on Origi that we haven't spoken on? We've spoken about Origi. We know where we are at Origi. It's his swan song, right? We're just waiting for that magic, 1 more or 2 more magical moments, right? That's what we're waiting for from Origi before we bid farewell. I think, Keith, that's about it with Origi.
I'm more excited. I'm excited for him, first of all, to see where his career takes off next. I mean, for what 10 million quid we got him from, I think he's more than served what he's been brought in here to do. Yeah, I'm really intrigued to see who's going to take the mantle on Divock Origi, because I do believe there is still, maybe Taki, but I don't know. I still believe there is space for a natural, like through the middle striker.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we have a lot. Like, we got, you got your Takis, your Mo's. One side you got Diaz.
Conroy always asks for that, doesn't he? Conroy always wants an out-and-out target man type plan B or C, as the case may be sometimes.
Because we're going to need it, because that's why Divock Origi has been so impactful over the years as a bench. If Origi was the same style of player as a Salah and as a Mane, I don't think he would have had as much of an impact. But because he's so different, and he makes the 2 centre-backs have to think differently, and everything goes through those lines, he comes up with the goals, a la Wolves, for example, in the last minute. So, I think while moving him on would be great for all parties, finding someone of his style, I think should be something to look into.
That's not a bad point you make there, actually. I like that point, actually. I didn't think of that. Because Jota could be that, maybe. He's got that element of him, whereas he's very strong at holding the ball. But none of the others, you're right. Sadio is totally different when he plays through the middle, even though we're seeing elements of Sadio that we're liking. We're seeing a possible, Sadio through the middle, and Diaz, as we've touched upon. But going at 2-0, Harvey Elliott comes on, doesn't he, for Curtis Jones? Was there any other changes? No. That's the only change at that moment. And we're very comfortable until the 60th minute. And I think we're complacent. I think it's understandable. I don't think Klopp was as animated as he usually is as well, Mick. We didn't see much of Klopp, the camera panning to Klopp and going mad. And it kind of rubbed off on the team, I felt. And I thought the change he made, I thought it was slightly too early to make that change, because he brought on Morton for Jordan Henderson. Did you feel the same, or how did you feel?
Yeah, I think there was a moment like just not long after half time where Ox hits the post, and I think if that goes in, then that change makes more sense, because then you've got the 3-goal lead, and you can go, well, we can now ring the changes, or
if the cunt that is Martin Atkinson, doesn't be a wanker against us like he has been in every game that he referees against us or officiates in us. Like it's every single time. And I am on record. I've got a tweet from 2019 where I've said he's like this. And 3 years later, he's still like this. And this is when a game we've won. We've won comfortably. It's no problem, no issue. But how he doesn't even think about that or just waves it away like there's no technology involved. There's nothing that will change his mind. He's not looking to even open his mind and brain to possibly thinking he might have made a mistake. Let's have another look or ask the VAR. The VAR are obviously the guy at VAR. Someone should tell me he was a nobody. And when you're nobody, Mick. So basically, he knew that it's a nobody. I'm a senior here, right? Because that's how he goes about, doesn't he? He's fucking back. Someone was telling me earlier on my tweet that he's hitting retirement age very soon, apparently. And he's senior. He doesn't open his mind or brain to possibly thinking he made a mistake there. It frustrates. Sorry, I've bited in. He makes me that mad, Mick, because that was so fucking obvious handball. It's unbelievable. And the way the commentators just laughed it off. Maybe they gave the benefit of the doubt. What are you fucking on about? When have we seen anything like that for any other decisions? But when it comes to Martin Keita and Liverpool, it's just laughed off in commentary.
Yeah, and like I said, if I think that comes within, it's like 2 or 3 minutes. Like the Ox chance, if that goes in, then you like I said, ring the changes. It's more acceptable because you can allow the play to be the rhythm to be disrupted a little bit because we've got that advantage, a 3-goal lead. And then the penalty, you're like, well, what the fuck's going on? Like especially after the City Everton game, and you're just thinking, you couldn't see a more blatant handball. I'm not saying this one was more blatant, but how far the ball's travelled, that for me is like that should be a key. Like when you get like whoever on like Ref Watch on Sky Sports News, it's always like, how far has the ball travelled? Is there any intent? It's all the same shit. And it's like the ball's travelled quite a long distance there, and it still hit his hands. And was it John Brooks and VAR? How have you not gone right? Go and have a look at that, or at least say to the referee like that. It's probably a penalty. Something.
Mick, because he's a nobody, because no one's ever heard of him, and I haven't, and us three haven't, and none of no one in the chat has. Because if anyone tells me they've heard of John Brooks, you're either a relative, right? There's no other way you've heard of him. You're a relative of John Brooks if you've heard of him. And this is what happens, Mick, because Martin Atkinson just straight away said no. That played on Martin, whatever his name is. I've forgotten his name already, right? That's who irrelevant he is, right? I've forgotten his name. Brooks or Brook or whatever. He's obviously thought, fuck, Martin Atkinson's adamant, because Martin Atkinson does that straight away, whatever. How dare you do that in 2022? Why would a referee do that, lads? Am I right? Or am I being overreactionary here? Why would a referee go like that in 2022 when there's so many camera angles and there's VAR and there's, you think, or you tell the players, oh, hold on, lads, I'll have a look, relax. Instead, he does the total opposite and says, fuck you, no chance. It doesn't make sense, does it?
Yeah, it's a proper like 2000 like referee movement, isn't it? Like, no, fuck off, carry on. I think there's a comment in the chat that I've just seen from Eunice saying, isn't it a pen regardless how far the ball has travelled, which I agree with. Like, but I'm saying additionally, like it's a shot on target, that's a Stonewall pen, but it's also travelled a long distance, so it's doubly a pen. Like that's another. All the check boxes you're ticking in terms of what's the penalty, that's another one it's ticking. So there's 2 there which is ticking. So how you can be so adamant that it's not a penalty, and especially where we're, like I said, the Oxlade-Chamberlain chance doesn't go in, and then we get that, and then we're not given that, gives Norwich a little bit of encouragement. It makes them go, right, well, we've got a little bit of time here. Decisions are maybe going our way. If we get one soonish, which they did, we might have a chance. And it's stuff like that which really pisses me off.
Brilliant. There's always one. Our chat is amazing. There's always one. There you go. There's always one. Nay, we have absolute no reason to doubt you. So we believe you. But look, upcoming ref, there you go. He didn't want to upset a senior referee and go against him. This is a load of bollocks, really. But yeah, look, you're right, Mick, because that phase, and then on top of that, we miss chances, we hit the post. I think there was a couple of other chances where I thought Jota and Divock were selfish. We didn't play each other in, and we're looking for that goal. And then on top of that, he takes off his captain and senior player Henderson and brings on Morton. That absolutely gave Norwich a lifeline or encouragement. Not a lifeline. The goal wasn't a lifeline, encouragement. And before we go on to their goal, Azamir says, do you guys think because the squad saying about Taki got us to the cup final, gave him confidence and believe that he belonged to the group now? I agree. Yeah, I definitely think there is an absolute element of that. There is. And, you saw that visibly in the celebrations. They were really making him feel part of it. And he did feel part of it. And he did sort of run up to us and celebrate with a trophy like they do when they made him jump. Because as Keith says, he's been our match winner and match saver in many a game in the League Cup. But if you can use that confidence like he's doing in the FA Cup and thing, because there is still games where he will influence, in the Premier League in the latter stages, of a game. He could be the difference maker. Their goal, one of those things where we just sort of a couple of passes have sliced us open. We've been too much in attack. We've been caught on the counter when we didn't need to be. And then Gomez, Konate, some people are blaming Gomez, some people are blaming Konate, some people blaming Alisson for being sort of positionally not right, like it wasn't right in the corner. Your view on it?
I thought it was coming. It was definitely coming. It was a cacophony of errors. It was just, the pressings was all wrong. The protection of the football was just, lackadaisical at best. And I actually felt in that period of time, I thought Norwich did deserve to score a goal. I thought Josh Sargent had a great header just beforehand, which he should have at least hit the target in. They got behind us 2 or 3 times. I actually thought that winger that they brought on, who's 18 years old, I don't know why, I just had this feeling that it just felt like, it's such a dead game, 2-0 up, really quiet. And you just felt this kid's come on 18 years old. At one stage, I thought, have the stars been written? And then he had a big chance because Alisson had to make a huge save from him afterwards. I mean, that was at 2-1 as well. And I thought that was one of Ali's saves that kept us in the game. So the goal itself, I thought, it was a decent strike. I just thought, could Gomez have been more aggressive? Absolutely. Could Konate have been more aggressive? Absolutely. But then again, should they have been put in that kind of pressure? No, because ultimately what happened was you got a situation where you bring Tyler Morton on and bless the kid, you're putting him in the midfield 3 with 2 number 8s, right? And these 2 number 8s, you got Oxlade-Chamberlain who's trying to press, and he's coming from there all the way over here to press on the right-hand side. He's not comfortable on the left-hand side. Harvey Elliott naturally is not the most comfortable player to kind of position himself alongside Morton. So once Morton gets caught out of position, I think it just goes to show just how hard a job Fabinho has in this team, just to flick it on that, because any time anybody else, and it's not just Tyler Morton, seeing Jordan Henderson try to play in that position and looked, and you genuinely see just how much comes up
space and how much areas he's got to cover. And
it's crazy. But Fabinho makes it look so easy. It's just really mental. But Morton kind of loses his positioning, and then Konate takes it upon himself to try and then do an aggressive press and completely takes himself out of position. And Norwich are a Premier League football team at the end of the day. These are not kids. At the end of the day, they
or championship players. Yeah, they're not. Well, they may be championship players, but they're not League One, League Two. You know what I mean? There are Premier League. You're right. Yeah, they will create a chance or two. Yeah.
Yeah, give them the space. You said the back comes out of position, give them space. They'll knock it 1-2, 1-2, boom. All of a sudden, they've got a shot. They've got an opportunity to have a shot on goal. So I thought it was the change, and so Klopp gambled with the sub. Morton was injured sub. Well, that for me, shout out El Drago. That for me, what he says there, Klopp gambled with the sub. Morton is injured and subbed off after 90 minutes last under 23 games 5 days ago. Says everything that I need to see, because I felt that Morton kind of just didn't really want to be there, kind of thing. It just kind of looked like it was kind of, please, I don't want to really be involved. But Norwich were like, well, actually, we're just going to throw 6 man and just go for it. So I felt I was very sorry for him in that respect, because I thought once Henderson came off, I thought that's what turned the game into, the typical basketball match that we like to play. But again, just to clarify on the goal itself, I thought it was not one individual. I thought it was the team, and I thought, again, Klopp does turn around and says, when this situation happens, I'm to blame. And yeah, Klopp's to blame in that situation, because what was there was not good enough to play against Norwich. And he's lucky that it was that with the last 15, 20 minutes to go and not the start of the match, because at the start of the match, we'd be having a different conversation tonight. Yeah,
absolutely. I think Klopp would have been slightly more animated than he was if that happened earlier in the game. But look, we saw it out. We saw a bit of Diaz, as the crowd must have been baying for. It's always good to get a bit of Diaz. Mane, he brings them on, and Diaz probably could have scored with it. I thought it was in when he does that bit of magic as he does, turns players inside out, makes them dizzy, and then I thought he was going to put it in the top corner. That'd been lovely. I remember Firmino scoring a goal like that. I think against Arsenal, if I remember.
Arsenal, yeah,
it was, wasn't it? And he
Arsenal.
Beautiful. But I think we're going to wrap it up with this super chat from NBA. Shout out NBA all the way from Slough. Salaam alaikum, which means peace to you all. Evening, quarterfinal done. Quarterfinal of 1 of 4, sorry. 1 of 4 done. Quarterfinal of FA Cup, most likely quarterfinal of Champions League, and 12 Premier League games left. 20 wins, positive results away from best season in history, Mick. I'm still not gonna talk about it in terms of a possibility. No, a probability, but it's a possibility. And until there's impossibility, the facts are that we keep going. We keep it as real as we can. And the only way to look at it on a realistic point of view is West Ham next.
Yeah, and I think that translates to what the players do, isn't it? Like, to be fair, like I think when I think back to 3 months ago when it was December and we were drawing games, and you kind of, if you spend too much time on social media, you kind of get sucked into the vibe the season's done, and you're oh fucking hell. And I think that transcends into Anfield a little bit as well, because the atmospheres weren't quite there, and it's only been recently since we've started to get those points back where Anfield's kind of picked up a notch. And it's, I always hoped social media wouldn't have an effect on atmospheres in the ground, but I think it does a little bit, because people get sucked into this. Oh, it's the league done, City have won it. But yeah, 6 points behind. If we game in hand, we're 3 behind, and we've got to go to their place in April, haven't we? So it's 12 games. There's a long way to go. One tonight. I'm not going to be going, oh, we need to win this, whatever. I think Klopp got an interview before the game, is the quadruple on, and he kind of laughed, saying it's never been done before. That's because it's really hard to do, and that's it. That's that. The thing is, a Liverpool fan, you just kind of need to. I'm always glass half full, because it's well, we've won the Carabao. It was a difficult game. We got over the line. We've got another trophy, first League Cup for 10 years. Achievement in itself. We need to then use that as a platform, as a catalyst to kind of go, well, we are good enough. And I think tonight, albeit, it wasn't the greatest display you'll ever see from a Liverpool side, because it was rung the changes, 10 changes, but we got over the line still with 10 changes. Again, and like he said, the Premier League side, they still had quality. They scored that goal, which was a good goal. Like you said, a few errors and that, and then Alisson makes a good save. So they had a few chances, but we still got over the line. But I'm not going to be, I'm not going to be too optimistic in terms of we're going to win everything. But it's if we get to a point, a catchment point, where we go, well, we're now in with it with 3 games to go. That's when the momentum, you start to believe a little bit more, I suppose. But I think in terms of Premier League, the City are just so good, aren't they? You've just got to kind of see how they get on. Obviously, the penalty, which should have been a penalty against Everton, if that gets given and Everton get a draw, we're maybe doing this podcast a little bit more upbeat in terms of maybe getting into the mix with the Premier League. But Champions League, like you said earlier, goes 2-0 up. We've got to bring into Anfield next week, so that'll be another test, but a test that we should be pretty much bang up for to get through to the next round. And then tonight, where we've got through as well. So yeah, it's all positive, and I think that's the thing. Like, we need to think back, or I think back anyway. It's like November, December time where we're winning games, but then we're dropping points, and we're getting a few injuries, and we're looking at the table, and we're going, "Oh, fucking hell, we're miles away." And you don't really think about the Champions League, do you, or the Carabao Cup, or the FA Cup when you're in that moment in December time. You're only thinking about the Premier League. You're thinking, we're too far away, like 14 points, 12 points. You're thinking it's insurmountable. But now we're at a point where it can be done, and we just need to just go with the flow, and hopefully keep everyone fit and keep everyone in top form. And I think tonight showed that, because we've got that quality in depth, so we can rotate, and there's a lot of quality there. So we just need to keep going.
That flow that Mick talks about takes us to Anfield again, where we get the visit of West Ham, Keith. West Ham played their full strength lineup today and got dumped out of the FA Cup to Southampton, who are in a very good vein of form. We actually need to go to Southampton and win yet. That's going to be a tricky one on the horizon. Southampton are playing really well, but West Ham played the full strength team. We managed to rest the big dogs: Mane, Diaz, Virgil, Trent, Robbo, Fabinho, all get an absolute deserved night off. We come back hard. We come back strong on the weekend, don't we? We have to. We must put West Ham to the sword. No other way.
There's no other way, and actually, I think revenge is in the air. You know, and it's a dish served cold. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just the fact that these boys, 'cause sometimes these boys get a bit of a break and take 10, 15 minutes in the first half to get into it, and, you know, get a bit, I don't know, sometimes get a bit, you know, the intensity is not there. But, you know, absolutely, we treat West Ham like the top four challengers that they are now. We have to give them that respect that we would give an Arsenal or a Manchester United or a Spurs that are going to come to Anfield, and we play as aggressive as possible in this game, because, you know, they're the type of team that if we've seen what happens if we, you know, if we're not aggressive enough, and we, you know, we're soft all over the park, is one of your lines, right, as a thing, and that comment came from that West Ham game.
That was from the West Ham game, and we can't afford to be that. You're right. You're spot on.
Yep. Exactly that. So yeah, I can't wait for that one. I can't wait to be talking about that one, because that's going to be a big game, big game.
It is, but I can't think of a game that's going to involve us now until the end of the season. That's not going to be a big game. That's the reality of it, guys. This, you know, every game now is the biggest game of the season. Everything that we go into, obviously ranking tier wise upwards, is going to be the FA Cup. So whoever get drawn tomorrow, we'll know. Is it tomorrow? I think the draw's tomorrow. Inter Milan. I don't know when the Champions League draw is. Do you know, guys? Anyone know when the Champions League draw is? So, you know, well, is it panned? No, it's not panned out. You can't see the route yet, but someone will tell us if it is. And then every league game is a cup final anyway. Like, I don't give a shit how we play. I'm not looking for personal accolades and seeing Taki have a good game or Salah breaking a record. I just want 3 points in every single game, and that's the stage we're at. But guys, it's been wonderful chatting to you guys, of course, and you know, the good vibes continue. You know, so far, Mick's been a lucky charm. Don't think we've lost a game or anything. Exactly. Long may it continue, man. Long may it continue. But yeah, appreciate your time, Mickey. Thank you very much again.
No worries. Thanks for having me on, Ben Boss, again. Cheers.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We keep it going. We go into West Ham. Keith, are you around for the post-match or pre-match? You'd be for the REDFELLAS on Sunday, won't you?
100% be there for the REDFELLAS.
Excellent,
So,
excellent.
Yeah, looking forward to that one.
Yeah, I'll have a pre-match, guys, sorted for you guys. I've got a couple of good West Ham fans that I know. Give us a lowdown on West Ham and the insight into West Ham, and then we'll see where we're at, and then we'll have a good chat about it, and then hopefully we keep this going, man. Keep this momentum going, and the longer and the deeper it goes, it means the further we've got. I want another day out at Wembley. I want another day out in Paris. You know, I just want another days out, and this is what we live for, and this is what we support this club for. So let's keep it moving. But this is, guys, it's been a post-match show. Please make sure there's still over 200 of yous in here. You lot are lovely. You lot are amazing. You lot are so knowledgeable. But like the stream, so important for me, and the algorithms. So I'm learning new things every week, every month. It's amazing. Peace out. Take care.
Take care.